we are more or less on time, right? And we have full house. Thank you for being here on time. I'm going to do a slightly different type of introduction. Okay, so instead of your name, I want two numbers from each one of you. The first number is what is the percentage of revenue growth your company is looking at this year. Second is what is the percentage of IT budget growth you have this year. Right? Can I start from this end? Quickly. Yeah.
Wrong question to ask. For the revenue growth, because I belong to a non-profit, so I can't really talk about revenue.
Okay. But IT budget?
It ranges between 5 to 10%.
Okay, 5 to 10% growth. Couple.
I belong to health insurance. So in my company, like we are looking for 37% growth in this year.
37% growth?
Yes, because we are tying with the different banker channels.
Okay.
So we are expecting.
And budget growth? Your budget growth?
Sorry?
IT budget growth?
20%.
Percentage growth?
Percentage growth, 50%.
50% budget growth?
Yes.
Lucky man. Yeah. How many of you are jealous of it? 50% budget growth?
All of us.
Reason is because we had that. Yeah.
Depends on the company.
Yeah, because this year we are tying with the banker first time after 5 years. So banker is we are expecting double.
Okay.
All application, all network, and everything has to be double. So there are two banks coming with us.
Okay. So which
The turnover is about 2,500 crores. And the budget is so far in this central corporate side is about 10 crores.
So what percentage growth do you have?
It will be about close to 20%.
20% IT budget growth. And corporate growth?
At the group level, it might be about 20%.
I belong to engineering consultancy firm, and we are looking for around 20% top line growth and around 10 to 15% IT.
I am from SAIL. We are looking for I think 10 to 20% growth, but it's totally dependent on the government sector, because PSU always depends on the government for in IT infrastructure. And IT budget, I think this year we have gone for SAP ERP. I think we'll have more than 25%. Yeah, this year. For this year, because ERP was still pending from the last 4 years. We have already purchased all the licenses, but I think hardware and all that, we need more than that.
Hi, I'm Sanjay. I'm from the wellness and infrastructure business, and we are expecting about 15 to 20% of growth in terms of business, and in IT it is about 5 to 10%.
Hi, Abhishek. I come from an e-commerce background, so we are expecting a growth of about 40% this year. IT budgets will be increased to about 60%. We are coming up with new facility.
I'm from telecom sector. The revenue growth is expected to be around 20 to 20%. And proportionately, IT budget will be increasing by 10 to 15%. Same. I'm zero on it. Okay. And I would like to add basically, we are thinking of a lot of investments. Not only in our plants, IT requirements, but in the marketing as well as in our international trade. So that is an additional to our ideas.
I'm the panelist. I'm not asking for budgets.
My budget is
No.
from their budget.
That's a good number, right?
Yeah, I hope that's not true. But we can't tell my boss about this because my budget will go up.
Targets will go up. So, but maybe you can introduce this.
Sure.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is K.V. Rajendran. I am from Dimension Data. I head the data center and cloud business of Dimension Data. Okay. Very nice to meet you all. Hope to have a meaningful interaction with all of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good evening everyone. I'm Prashant Advani. I'm the lead cloud architect for Cisco India and SARC.
Hi, my name is Shubha Amrita and I look after technical consulting for EMC in North of India.
Back to my own question. Budgets and targets. Back to you. What your introduction, please. Me? Yeah. Oh. My name is Krishna Kumar. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Nightbot Tech. Current role is moderating this discussion and making it spicy and hot. I'm Bharat Nandi. I am the head of IT of Commercial Features Communication Limited. It's the 4G network rollout company for Reliance Jio and Telecom Limited, the company which has the pan-India license. So the growth is unlimited. We have grown from almost 0 2.5 years back to 6,500 employees in just 2 years back. So in the next 2 years also the growth will be almost in the same pattern. There is no budget. What are all as per the requirement of the project. Okay. So you are better than they are. Yeah. I can't say better or worse, but there is no budget. Okay. Okay.
Well, I do not know whether I am on the right side of the table. I am a startup IT company, and we have the domain of the HR administration and the application support for the ERP. And our budget, as such, the IT budget is not big for the startup IT company. But yes, it's our clients where we see they have the plans.
I represent EET, Ishan. Business growth expected, targeted business growth 30% plus. I thought 30% plus was very aggressive, but looking at that, you were one of the most pessimistic. Will we achieve it? Doesn't look like it. The way the economic condition we are talking about 40%, including that. In terms of the IT budget growth on year-on-year comparison is 50% year.
I am Pradeep, here into healthcare, and our turnover this year is just small organization on that bill is about 1,200 crore, and the IT budget is 2%. This does not include the growth for the medical technology that is being planned for our hospitals, which goes from the CEO budget, not the IT budget.
So you only have two budgets.
Yeah. They are involved, but not our budget.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, I am Balwan. I am from manufacturing sector. We are looking forward for 25% growth in the current year. And regarding IT budget, it should be around 15 to 20% growth.
Myself from NIC. Do you use the microphone, please? No, could you use the microphone, please?
Myself from NIC, Government of India. And I think we are from developing side. Well, as per my knowledge, I think budget is near to 600 crore and the growth is 20 best mostly.
Normally, actually, NIC being a government sector, so we don't have any turnover. But we have around 607 crores of IT budget, which is approximately 10% growth there. And we are doing some paid projects, mission work projects we are doing to the tune of 1,000 crores.
I belong to while refining and marketing company. So our annual growth is around 20%, and IT budget they are planning to have around 10%. But again, they have put some condition that we have to cut down the cost in the many part, traveling and all those. And 12% of that budget which should come from there, not different.
I'm Anupam from Financial Service Company. Our expected business growth is about 20%. The IT budget is 10 to 12%.
I'm Ashish Varma. I'm from Interocean Shipping, and our turnover is 750 crores plus, and we have a budget of 10%.
What is the turnover growth over last year?
Around about 25%.
25% turnover growth and IT budget growth?
10%.
10%. Okay, just mathematical average. I know that the turnovers vary significantly, numbers vary significantly. Mathematical average of growth of about 25, revenue growth of about 25% average in this group, and IT budget about 15% growth. That's the mathematical average, which brings me to a very simple question.
Depends on the first half. Now it will go to second half.
Some people
Maybe
get
there
that,
is
some
some
people
change,
get
no?
which it obviously makes you very happy. That's very good. But which brings me to a very simple question. So what we are going to do is I'm going to raise some comfortable questions, some uncomfortable questions. I'll take some sampling opinions across the table. If anybody wants to contribute, please raise your hand so that I know that you want to contribute to it. Something that's spicy and good, I'll pick up and publish later. So I'll go with the carrot up there. The question I want to ask you is 25% average year-on-year revenue growth targets by line of business. 15% is the growth in your budgets. I'm keeping a couple of people who don't have budget limits out. How difficult is it to keep pace with the expected revenue growth? Is it difficult or is it smooth sailing? Right. Can you repeat the question, please? 25% average revenue growth expectation of the company. 10 to 15% is the budget increase you are getting. Is it okay with you? Or is it smooth sailing for you, or is it difficult for you to meet the expectations? I don't want to point any particular person to start, but if anybody has thoughts on this, we'll start with that and go on to the harder questions.
Okay from to answer the question, okay from our end to justify the budget that we have given
Is the budget enough for you to meet expectations of line of business?
If I look backward like 5 years, like how we were driving the budget, so it is less. The reason is the minimum, if I take the average of 5 years, it is somewhere around 20-22%.
Yeah.
Right? I will name few applications everybody must be having. When we prepare the roadmap, we align ourselves with the business, and if we take the current scenario, like every company requires business analytics, Oracle financials, and core systems, where they are, probably upgrade or something has to be there, and some of the new application. You never know, like whenever business demands for that. So to fulfill at least these 3 applications plus your BAU, you require at least 20 to 22% business. This is what is my experience, like us. 5 years which I have seen. So I feel like 15% less.
Is a tough one.
In case CEO asks, like, you give me 20% saving what you have originally.
Yeah.
Right? Then in that case, like, we run shop in 15% and we can showcase like 20% is savings. This is what, like, I've done it once.
Okay. That's a good one. I should remember that. Any other?
See, they have fixed the 10% budget and all, but at the same time they have business requirement. If they demand more, definitely they have to revise the budget. So it is not very fixed one, flexible.
Okay.
So in our case, they say, okay, this is our budget. But if they demand more and as compared to international market, so then we'll compare and revise the budget. It is not something very hard to be fixed.
Okay. So both of you are actually saying same thing, that there is some level of discussion at some level in the budgets. Right? Any other thoughts on this? Is it the same pattern?
It's challenging actually, because if you see on budget, you must be having some new projects. So management will force you to cut down some costs. So in my perspective, it's challenge. You need to maintain some cost cutting, and you have business requirement will be always there. They require some application and new infrastructure will be required. So it's challenging.
Okay. This side has been quiet. You want to say
drive the
revenues, I guess it's kind of okay, but as a couple of people have mentioned that telecom especially is these days being governed by the government a lot, the regulatory body. So projects like those require a lot of investment and are funded by the by the CEOs, contingency budgets and all those things. So I guess
it's the same thing. There are 2 budgets, right?
Yeah. Kind of.
So the general feel I'm getting is that IT actually has 2 budgets. there is a CIO budget and there is probably a LOB or a CEO budget. Is that normally true? Part of it? Giving you order first.
Yeah, not really. I would like to contribute here.
Yeah.
Though I am not constrained by the budgetary streams, but I would like to add the budget that we are discussing here depends on the type of project that you are expected to be delivered in that financial year. Number one. Number two, your hardware and your main assets are in which part of the life cycle. If they are in the end part of the life cycle, then your budget needs to be stretched. But the second year of your IT capex invested, then your budgets need not to be so high.
It's like the SAP implementation happening in sale that they are doing it this year. So they are
correct. So that is a sinusoidal curve. It can be like that. It cannot be a straight line or a growing curve.
So you're saying depending on the project.
Two things. One is the applications part, the projects, the application software, and the business applications that you are expected to deliver. Second is the hardware or infrastructure where you need to invest. Which stage of their life cycle they are in, so that if they are in the end stage, you need to upgrade or you need to throw away those, you need to buy new hardware. So that also will depend on that financial year's budget.
Okay, I'd like to add 2 more points here.
I'll talk about since last 5 years, our organization, the business, the turnover grew from about 1100 to 2500 crores. So we divided our budget into 2 parts from the beginning. One is the sustenance part. Sustenance part more or less remained at 0.15, 0.18, 0.2%. It's not very high. But the new initiatives part, that kept on increasing. So this year we are at about 0.4% total of the turnover. But the business impact of this is earlier we had about 15 units. Now we have got 32 locations. Now we have got separate business set up to support for like what we say procuring the raw material, procurement component, etc. from overseas, etc. and supplying to all these 32 units. So budget is always seen as 2 parts. For sustenance there is always a pressure of cost reduction. But for the new initiatives which are aligned to the strategic initiatives at the group level, here the linkage being very strong, there the pressure on cost reduction is less.
But you also saying which are kept in focus always.
Is that whatever we are doing, we have to ensure that the previous part has been fully leveraged. Okay. Suppose we have implemented SAP, then SAP should have been fully leveraged across all the units. Only then we can go for the next step.
Okay, got
that control is there.
Okay. So basically all of you say same thing. The CIO actually has 2 budgets. That again is more good news for you. 2 budgets.
Yeah, I think we have been running after the self.
You need to find the CEO's budget. Which makes me, recently I was doing a focus group with a bunch of CIOs. And something interesting came up. Some of them said that listen, in the past there was a pressure on us to contribute to improving the bottom line. Now that is over. And the pressure is on IT to find new lines of adding to the top line. Now this was some sort of new insight for me. So I asked him what is exactly happening. So IT is supposed to come up with ideas for increasing the top line. How much of is this true across the board? Are you?
Yeah, I agree with you. It is depending on the company. If the company is very liberal and the CEO is highly tech savvy and focused and knowledgeable, then the mandate comes from the top. Otherwise, there are companies where the mandate comes from bottom. The CIO actually sets a goal for himself that these are the business value additions that I am bringing to the table. So maybe you can say that he cuts his own branch, but this is the way he, I know that we have done it. That's what I'm saying. So it comes from bottom to top. Okay. So the CIO puts into the table to the CEO that these are the business value additions I am proposing. So
yeah,
that's it. So ensure that this is not a cost center; it's a profit center.
So, what is the, is there a pressure on you? What is the CIO, he's saying that CIO also has a inner urge to become a profit center. But is there a pressure on the CIO to become a profit center from outside the system? From outside the IT system?
Yes, in case of sales, say for example, when we interact with a lot of foreign buyers and we try to learn their systems, then immediately it clicks with the people who are dealing with them that yes, this is how the world deals, and this is what we should be we should be having our goals for that. And there could be different milestones, but the first click, basically, the trigger comes from those interactions.
So you're saying that when you interact with the outside world, you get ideas as IT which you may take to the line of business or you may implement.
Like, say for example, SAP itself. Now, so many companies had set up, although we had in the last 5 years very high profits, but still our management was a bit conservative. That we didn't want to invest because our own internally developed systems are running beautiful, and there is always a resistance to change. But when we took the courage that we have to implement, it didn't take much time.
Continue with that. Actually, the same problem was there. We takes SAP ERP 3-4 years. Then management decided that it should be centralized on our plant. Then management cut the funds. It goes for decentralized. Now it has come only to Delhi. These type of things.
Okay. I think the question which asked, I am also very keen to know the answer to this. That real question is, does the IT department get a revenue target, or do they generate or contribute in some manner to creating fresh revenue? I think that's the question.
Creating new business lines.
Creating new business lines.
Yes.
Or is it something which happens by chance, by product, by happenstance rather than by...
Facilitation business itself.
So what is the question?
So again, it depends on the industry which you are in. So you might be in an industry that probably IT is just a support service. Like, however, when it comes to people like us in e-commerce, everything is being driven by IT. So each and every dollar that is being earned is earned because the IT systems are working.
So in your kind of organizations, the CIO sits in business planning discussions?
There cannot be a business plan without IT.
Okay, so that may not be the case with all the organizations.
So telecom is quite coupled up with IT. E-commerce is other industries.
Let me be there as well. I neither have a target for a top line nor an attribute of a top line. I do have KPIs, key measurements, which are considered business values. Can they be measured in terms of top revenue? There is a specific initiative on e-commerce that we are doing, which is also falls under my there are revenue targets, but are they associated with my KPIs? Whereas an IT as a service, is it generating top line revenues? No. Are you doing bottom line additions? If you are doing a cost cutting project, probably you are doing bottom line, but is there a straight away a suggestion to say that yes, you will cut down 10% because of 5% investment? Very difficult. I hardly found many projects that you can actually deploy. Necessity is the most that you can ever create a business. It's academic. So there are no direct. However, there are the simple premise for a budget allocation is a business value add in a proposition that you can see it. And then you invest with a leap of faith at a time. That's how you invest. That's what so there is no. There is a correlation in terms of customer facilitation. So let's say in our case being a retail, one of the facilitation is how fast can I check you out in my account. That's my KPI. I will deal with that to say if it is taking 15 seconds, how can I deal with 15 seconds? That's what we will do. But will we increase that value indirectly? Is there a direct correlation in the value?
So we got two different opinions.
Yeah, I would completely vouch for them actually. Obviously that IT, if it is agile and if it is flexible and if it is actually giving the customer experience, fabulous customer experience, then this is an indirect revenue for the company, indirect top line for the company actually. So I would say this one.
To repeat the question that you asked, does CIO sit down in the business planning?
Yeah, obviously.
To answer your question, do you have revenue targets or not? You're expected to, not to the same extent that other business heads have, but CIOs are, at least in my company, we're expected to bring value to the table. That is, of course, do some projects and some stuff on your own. But you're also supposed to collaborate and innovatively take, initiative to work with other units. Not that they come to you and you're supposed to be delivering IT solutions. So it is expected that you will obviously, make it in.
You can afford to go out and find out what they want.
Yes. So that way, somehow indirectly, you are adding to the, you are adding value to the business.
Okay. I'll hold the point there. I'll come back to that. Yes, sir. I'll come.
Okay, answer is fairly yes. One, our CIO, they are involved into the management meeting for the profit of the organization. They are clearly turning up from enabler to business drivers, and I can justify that by giving one good example. Like, why did Angelina Jolie had double mastectomy? It was not for the sake of fun. It was the study of genomics, which told her that what is she otherwise going to get in future. Now, this study of genomics is done in one of the rare institutions in India, and that's the Jawaharlal Nehru Institute. So we have picked up some PhD students from Jawaharlal Institute who does the study of genomics, which can be done only with the help of the technology, where we take the blood, study the molecule, and tell you that are you prospective to cancer or not. It could be hereditary, or you could be the first person in the family to have this. And these people, they report to the CIO, they report to IT and not to the medical community. So IT here, with the technology, with our healthcare service, guides the healthcare that which are the prospective customers, and we have targeted the whole of Punjab for this, which indirectly, while doing the social service, indirectly in the end of the day, it's getting more revenue to us. So that's how we are becoming business driver. And this is one of these examples. There are lots such where we wear the hat of business driver by enabling technology and getting more revenue.
Just to get a little bit deeper into this particular example.
Why is it that they are going to say, what is the reason which made them report to CIO and not to say a doctor of genomics or whatever it is? You said that these people report to CIO, right? What is the reason behind that decision?
Doctors doesn't have that much of time to spend in technology. They do the best what they known as to spend time in.
So this is a purely tech business, that's why it's still there. Okay, got it. So there was a very high knowledge of the domain sitting in the CIO. Okay.
That's interesting. I always used to think there is some connection between IT and Angelina Jolie.
Now you can use an example. I'll just come to you, sir, 1 minute. First I'm going to come to you. When you go and talk to people about to the IT community, what do you see? Do you see a pressure of business on them? Do you see this trend?
Yeah, maybe. The trend is pretty much the same. It's common that we see across, and what's important is also happening that in some circles that we've seen is the CEOs bypassing CIOs in a lot of their business decision cycles, whether it's the next level of analytics or they're driving some new level of digital transformation. Because they see IT in terms of not keeping up to pace with their expectations or their market opportunity, in some areas we do see them bypassing. However, this is not the case. I mean, if the answer, if you ask the CIOs, they say no, we are pretty much on the table. But in pockets, that's something which.
So I'll come to this.
Yeah. You see, just building up the last point. Like CEO is taking or bypassing the CIO. As long as it will be happening, the results will be difficult to achieve. So we have, industry has to create a climate where CEO and CIO always able to build the team. There is a high level of trust. Now the another point earlier we were talking about does the CIO sit in the board meeting? Like if we want to see, it's a board meeting, the participants are those who contribute to the business. Earlier scenario might be the CIO was not contributing much. Similarly, there it might be true for the HR. Earlier not contributing much, but today the meeting doesn't get complete without the HR being there. Or the CFO is there, though he is not directly contributing to the marketing or manufacturing. He just managing the fund. Similarly, the CIO is also becoming more and more important nowadays. He helps in achieving the others to achieve their KRAs. So the KPI for the CIO is to help others to achieve their KRA, means participating in the every move of the business. This is how they can increase their value.
I want to jump a bit
this might be supposed to be some high funda mic. It automatically goes over, some doesn't come. So I have to keep saying something. This is also the price you pay for technology, right? And e-use technology. So okay, so I'm going to jump a bit. Going back, it's actually a backward jump. The 25% growth versus 15% budgets. A lot of people say that the cloud is an answer for this stress that's required. Now, how many of you think that's true? Or show of hands. That the cloud is an answer for case to case. So I'll quickly come on words. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Case to case.
Yes. 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 Case to case. Yes. No. Okay, I got one no. I'll come back to you on the no.
Yes.
Yes. Partly case to case. Case to case. We will not vote. Case to case. Case to case. No. Case to case. No. Partly. Case to case basis. Yes.
As per the compliance, private cloud.
Microphone. Yes, no, yes, no,
Yes, but private cloud, as per the compliance.
yes or no.
Case.
I have this going on with Kapil all the time.
Case to case. Case to case.
Case to case is a winner. So you are saying that on a case to case basis, cloud may be the answer to a tightening budget. So that brings me to my next question for show of hands. How many of you have in the last 1 year, or the year and a half, middle of the year, so it goes to the previous financial year, deployed cloud as a solution to tightening budgets? Yes.
Deployed cloud? What is it?
How many of you have deployed application on cloud or deployed compute capacity on the cloud because of tightening budgets?
Because of?
Tightening budgets.
So the answer is yes.
We are deployed but not utilized.
Not because of budgets.
We have deployed but not utilized.
You have.
Deployed not really.
Not because of budgets. Not deployed. Not deployed. Deployed. Tested it out. POC.
So my IT fellow will.
Deployed but not because of budget. Deployed but not for.
Not for budget.
Did POC.
Exam will not be based on budget.
Did POC.
Then you must really know what was the trigger for deploying cloud. If it's not budget,
Yeah.
Can I answer that? We deployed, but not because of budgets, because of faster implementation, not really, waiting to get the infrastructure and everything up and running, because that takes longer. So if you're in a rush and you want to go ahead and, for that.
that's good.
So I see a lot of nodding heads. So are you saying that your primary driver for cloud is not budget but speed of deployment?
As of now, yes,
Yes.
it's the speed,
Yeah.
but depends on, as we said, case to case. Maybe for some projects it will make sense for you to go to cloud. But
No.
as of now, in my
Yeah.
experience, no.
Sure. So I'll come reverse. Those of you who deployed but not because of budget, what are the reasons for doing cloud? Was it speed of deployment or was it something else?
We have not deployed anything there.
Those of you who are deployed.
Landing this.
Not yet. The reason?
this year were pending because we realized that had we done it 5 years earlier, our cost would have been lesser.
Some cost basis.
Not really.
Yeah, that is due to the time factor. Time factor. Only for geolocation advantages.
Ease of commerce.
Period and days, not budgets.
Time to mark for one reason. The second was to avoid any duplicity in the functionality of features which were already available to us and to reuse those.
Manpower, increase manpower constraints. Getting the guys.
So you basically outsource.
See, outsource you could have done hosting also.
Yeah, that's why I
that
was
was not the
saying.
idea. Idea was also, first of all, manpower this thing, also ensure the flexibility. But main reason was manpower. That's why it was
Okay.
again installing a server and or hosting, even hosting outside, you have to maintain a lot of load. Hands off.
Faster deployment.
Yeah, we have implemented Microsoft CRM this year in cloud. We had a lot of computational cognition in seeing the costings and other things. In 5-year run, there are a lot of components and manpower is one of that. Manageability is another part, the upgrades and other things. We found the mathematics look like on cloud is a better ROI than on premises.
So you're saying ROI worked out better.
We deploy both cloud as well as
For faster deployment, ease of use and effective collection of items.
See, we have deployed on the cloud the applications which are of not that important. And then at the same way, we are comparing with that in-house expenditure and that. And some comparative studies going on.
So you're still in the testing stages.
Yes.
We are running budget and manpower.
Budget and manpower.
Primarily budgeting.
So I am a bit keen to understand what kind of cloud computer application they require.
No, will it increase the initial investment, infrastructure investment cloud?
No, sir.
In fact, I am not about the cloud computing, but initial, suppose you want to set up different applications for cloud computing, it will increase the initial investment cost.
Okay, so there's a question.
Is it economical?
Maybe you should answer this question.
Of course.
Is it, does it mean that deployment of cloud means no initial investment or? Yes.
What is cutting down the manpower? What I get to know is the initial financial, on financial aspects, what is the impact?
See you.
Yeah.
You're talking of amortization.
Of course, it's lesser. I mean, cloud is what? It's an OPEX model, right? Not it could be anything fundamental or attractiveness is due to the OPEX nature of payment. So that's not our word.
So is it heavy on OpEx? Maintenance and
It's completely not.
heavier on OpEx as compared to our own
See, that's the raging debate which is going on.
And it basically phase to phase. Which phase of what is the phase that we are right now?
That's true. See, like we said, these kind of raging debates are going on in many organizations. So if you compare with, for example, now I'm talking about compute. Okay, X compute, suppose you buy using CapEx and use your own financing methods to see what do you OPEX it, as compared to what you pay to a cloud service provider. It need not be lesser. So the actual outflow would be fairly the same, but the rest of the advantages which are mentioned by the panel, that's what becomes important. That's what our experience shows so far. But on a long-term basis, let's say 4 to 6 years model, the cloud deployment will work out better. If you're looking for better ROI to be shown to the management in a 1 or 2 year time frame, that may not be possible.
There's one additional reason rapid deployment was we don't know what level of growth we will get from the
That's the amazing
point which is every deployment of ours is showing whether in Indian market, less of Indian market, more of overseas success stories. We have been doing this for many years now of overseas. It's the scalability, the rapid scalability, especially in some businesses with scalability.
There were some other comments. So the number one reason in this group seems to be speed of deployment rather than budgets. The other two other points given by geolocation. Somebody had a point on geolocation there. Manpower constraints led to cloud. Somebody is still, couple of people are still trying it out, and a couple of people had budgetary reasons why we did.
I think we should add scalability as well.
Okay.
We may not have said it, but that's also one reason
So,
that.
so let me
Let us say,
scalability. You are mentioned scalability. Or are they unable to predict this exact scalability? That's what I was saying. Yeah. That brings me to an interesting point that some of the CEOs made, and somebody that came in the morning to a separate session we had. That functional department, line of business departments, and Prakash made the same point, that functional departments are trying to bypass IT and deploy their own stuff. How many of you face this problem? And what are you doing to solve this problem?
Is there a problem?
Is there a problem? That's the first question. You clearly say it's a problem. And what can we do to solve for this problem?
I didn't say it's a problem, I said, but you do face this challenge where the business heads or the other units would like to deploy solutions, especially in cases where they feel and they think that they know better than the IT department. They realize that they have better access to maybe the service providers and vendors, and they have. It depends. Sometimes it's a very commodity kind of a requirement where they like to bypass the IT, and in other cases it's a very specialized requirement where they bypass IT. For example, in our case, if it's a very specialized modeling requirement where the department would think that they obviously have better understanding and knowledge than the IT department. Yes, it's.
What do you do? Allow that to happen, or do you try to solve for it?
In our organization, if you want to do something like this, you need to involve. You may go ahead, but you need the final go ahead by IT, or they need to be your partners in saying yes, it is okay, because unless if it's a one-time thing, it's a different thing. But if it requires maintenance and it requires continuity, the internal IT department needs to be involved.
What if somebody just takes a credit card and buys something on the public cloud? Maybe a mailing solution, maybe a office, I don't know what it is. Maybe a CRM solution. Do you face this problem? How do you solve
We
it?
control it through the policy. We have a policy that if you want to buy any service, software or any hardware, that should be paid by the IT. Otherwise, accounts department will not make the payment. This is the check we have. Payment will be not done. This is the
Whatever said is true for very chaotic and non-process driven, non-policy implementing companies. Companies who have very strong ethos, values, policies, these type of things hardly happen. I can vouch for it. I would like to hear from him the example of those companies so that I can actually.
So let me give an example. This is an example of a fairly well-known MNC, very big brand globally. I know the people involved in what happened. The head of marketing says, "Here is my credit card with unlimited balance. I am going to buy XYZ, whatever it is. Come and stop me if you can." Marketing company, head of marketing is God. It's happened to me.
And KK in my case.
CEO has to be involved.
And then you can't do anything.
Sorry?
And then you can't do anything.
No, the CEO has to get involved and being a moderator.
No, I like to add something.
So I'm the moderator, I will make
I'm a practical example. In my previous company, I was having direct access of the credit card of my CEO, and because my CEO was very tech savvy, so he was keep running a lot of projects. And let's say in the night he thought about something, and he'll come in the morning first half and ask, is it possible, like if I do something like that? So very often, I mean, this is very general discussion we were having on the table of coffee or tea, and we should tell them, is it possible or not possible, and the reason why. Right? If it's possible, use my card, do it. Whatever damn thing is required. So I've done a lot of time, and parallelly, whenever I'm using any card, I have to go to the CFO and tell them I used this much money from this card. So if you get the statement, I will give you the invoice and I'll give the justification for this. So they tag that amount on the name of me. And why this kind of projects are running out of the project, out of the budget, reason is they are the strategic projects, right, where no budget is required. Companies see some potential.
Sure. That is what the CEO is doing, right? I'm talking of, say, the head of marketing and head of manufacturing, or maybe head of accounts, head of HR.
HR, and a lot of HR applications are getting deployed like this. So,
but it's a common phenomenon, I agree with you. People try to do that, and when they are in problem, they come back to it. Just like the children get problem and come back to work.
So on one side you keep a track of into account, and other side they give you a very yes.
You see, I have a point here. In a mature environment, it can happen. It can happen in a very early mature environment. When the applications are mature, people don't have the time, or they have seen it somewhere. Like my friend gave the example of it has been seen abroad, it has been done or not. Being a public sector company, they have the sanction and they will be taking 2 years, 3 years. Other CEOs doesn't have the patience for it. It should be done at the earliest possible. So their CIO will not be knowing, they will not have the clue of that. So what at least the CIO has, he can approach easily where these applications are available, or can compare the 2 or 3 products in the product, and can ensure that it can be deployed. He is the charge of the infrastructure. He should help and facilitate to implement these applications instead of evaluating too much or instead of doing it himself. This is how he can progress faster.
Yeah. That side of the table is keeping quiet.
There is no bypass.
Sorry?
Nobody bypass the IT. It's
So
a conference, centralized IT purchase policy, so it has to go through IT.
You see, the too much centralization of IT is not in the interest of IT. People are putting the so many blocks, and the people will not appreciate your really you are delivering, because most of the CIO are who are outdated. They are away from the user perspective. User is much more knowledgeable for about their own domain than the centralized IT.
For example, CAD. What does IT understand about CAD? Let the engineers buy it, let the engineers should buy it, or some design software. And sometimes you see, second point is actually sometimes it's a service, especially in the cloud. It's not a software, they're buying a service.
So you are saying let them do it?
I don't know.
Probably CFO can
I don't
have a
mind.
better marketing.
I would like to pitch in the same example because it actually corroborates the example in my company. It happened exactly the same thing. The GIS engineers and the designers, they went on to buy the AutoCAD, Autodesk Map 3D software, and they bought it. But there were a lot of issues, like the payment did not get cleared because they did not actually knew which would have been the right and the most fitting product for them. Autodesk has multitude of products that you need to have a little bit of IT knowledge, as well as if you are from the mechanical engineering background, it also serves you better. So the guy who is completely a draftsman or doing such bit of work have only used AutoCAD but not knowing much other aspects of it would face this trouble. So this department faced the trouble of payment getting blocked by the finance department. And the Autodesk, as you know, like other licensed companies, they played the tricks. Okay, I think everyone understood. And then next time they did, this department didn't try this game. They straight away came back to IT, and IT bailed them out. And they bought the right product for them in conjunction with the right people from Autodesk, and the right person at the project team, and we did this. So this is exactly the same story which I could not resist to say.
They all need to be taken by both the business and the IT, because the business guy requires superfast system, superfast application like AutoCAD. So there is various versions in AutoCAD itself. Only some difference, but in amount which there is huge differences. So IT guy needs to check whether the said application is meeting their requirement or not. Whether we can give this or that. But ultimately they need to also ensure that business requirements should be met.
So our interest would be to know more about compute part. Is any department other than IT going ahead and buying compute? Whatever you're mentioning is about applications.
Compute application is somebody say renting a virtual server somewhere.
Virtual applications are that's unlikely. That's
very unlikely. They would ideally buy any software package COTS in their domain. Like the finance guy will buy any of the package application, very off-the-shelf package application. For SAP, he will definitely come to you. For HR, he will come to you. That's not what you said.
Okay. So that's the general consensus, right? So
moreover, some knowledge domains like CAD/CAM, user interaction is required. Just getting a service, whatever you are providing, may not be subject to the user. That should be a big issue as well as high level knowledge domain.
You see, even your discussion on the service, what will you provide, hardly do anything. Because they have their own, vendor has their own procedures, individual vendor, and they follow that. If some sales guy can promise it, finally may not deliver it.
Okay. So I want to ask you, yes, take one point is that IT policy is there in most of, I guess, in all the organizations. When it comes to the sustenance part, there are accountabilities of IT. There could be an engineering core, like in our group there is an engineering core which decides which engineering design software they have to procure. IT's role is not there. Sometimes they may ask for a support on negotiation because it will be across multiple plants, or they may not ask. But when it comes to sustenance and ensuring IT policy compliance, then in case of any default, blame is upon. So IT has to be involved, but they may say, okay, this is not within, and in addition to say in terms of value add, in terms of which software, they may say we can't help. But for ensuring that the sustenance part, they will have to take on.
Okay. Got it. Yes.
To answer your question for the compute power, the request may come from the other departments. They may tell you what they want based on a very special requirement, but the procurement happens through IT. So they could be the decision makers. They could be part of that decision making of what to buy, when, but the final procurement.
So, to take that point a bit further, let me focus that on the cloud. When it comes to choosing cloud services, is it a pure IT decision or is it a LOB plus IT decision?
Choosing application, so you require business involvement.
Okay. When you're choosing where to work, if you do compute.
Yeah, compute is the
IT.
IT purely decides.
So hardware and sustenance is both pure IT.
Okay.
Choice of software could be user driven.
Okay. Is that less
If it's a pure IT application, if it's a normal routine, then it's IT. But if it's a application which is used purely by LOB, it is LOB plus IT.
Okay. I'm going to ask you an uncomfortable question. Have you, in the recent past, have you had to scale down many applications? You deployed something thinking that it will grow, say, business will grow, whatever will grow, number people will grow.
Yeah, we did.
That didn't happen, you had to scale down, right?
Yeah, we did.
How many people were expected to do? That's quite a significant number on this road. So specifically, what happened? Was there CapEx involved? How did you redeploy? What happened? I'm not asking for specific business reasons, but what happened to the IT part of it? When you did scale down?
Scalability. We had a vanilla HR application because of our tremendous growth. This application was unable to sustain, so we went for SAP HCM. So this application had to be scaled down and it's in the process still.
So what are you doing with the infrastructure that is there for them?
The infrastructure for
deploying the servers, storage
that we already have.
No, what are you going to do with that?
The existing application, the server, the configuration of the server required was less. For SAP, you need a higher.
So what are you doing with the existing applications infrastructure?
We use it for
we scale down, the existing infrastructure is always redeployed, and the kind of application setting on, there is always resource crunch, and these are the best option to reuse those infrastructure things.
So that was part of our discretionary budget. Yes, ma'am.
We scaled down an application which was actually on cloud, it was on Azure. So the IT infrastructure was not a problem, you just had to scale down and pay less.
It's a part of the optimization. It's a regular routine actually. I like to quote a couple of examples. We do this kind of exercise every year. Storage is the best example. Every time we are running out of the storage. So what we do is we generally run around here and there and we look for an application which we can retire. And some of the satellite application, homegrown application, we can think about it because over the period when you grow, you build those functionalities, you can build those functionality in the core application or some other application, probably you can merge those applications. So CRO has to work like a sales guy also to convince business these applications, the similar features can be given to you, can be optimized, can be moved from there to there, and that kind of sales he has to do to take out that space, to take out that particular server, to save the cost.
So you are saying that you do plan scale down or something which is something else.
Exactly.
So that's more like cannibalization of the source.
Yes, and this helps me for the license perspective. This is helping me for the storage perspective. This is helping me for the code which we generally allocate to the different applications. Some of the applications they demand more core actually. So we can transfer easily that by doing the optimization.
Okay. And what's your scaling up? I know your storage.
Not storage. Sorry, this is before that. My question was, are you forced to redeploy or is it by choice that you would like to redeploy?
No, this is my habit actually. I generally do that. Reason is because I don't get straight away approval from my CFO. If I go and ask like 2 terabyte I require within a 3 months time, there are 2 more applications are coming. So again, he'll say why do you lot of discussion and debate. So first choice is mine is let's figure out, keep ready something, because I tell you why. A lot of application they create snapshot, that's one. Whenever you are migrating some information, you need a backup, probably for temporary period, but still you need a backup until and unless you cannot do migration, right? To have that kind of space, I have to do that exercise. Otherwise, I will be always land in the problem. Your server will get crashed. The moment you are running the show, you will be, caught by the problems, different problems. So I do that.
Absolutely, I agree. The reason why I asked is that would it be better to have a more elastic framework on which you can scale up and scale down? Because while we talk about scaling down, we are forced to redeploy. That was my point. Maybe because we don't need it anymore, or we need a new generation of framework or infrastructure. Therefore, we try and redeploy it to justify it to the financial controller or the IT budget side. Probably reused it, and therefore we need
You rightly pointed out. I have a tool running, and which helps me to figure out always. Like if I'm going to business and I'm asking, this was 3 years back you developed the application, and now there is no transaction. I have a log here, right? That helps me always to buy my idea actually.
There was a point somewhere. Yeah.
When you're scaling the IT infra, there are new products which are coming in, and there is a product cycle also. Eventually, when a product is scaled down or the hardware is available, it is generally used for doing a POC or test environment for the new products which are upcoming, which is required by the organization. Maybe cloud is one of the options, but many a times we prefer to do on our own. Without.
You made a very interesting statement. cloud is one of the options, but many times we prefer to do on our own. Now, what dictates that preference?
See, generally, your people should understand the complexity of the hardware. In case you want to build a private cloud and your people are not aware of nitty-gritties, then you may lack a properly.
Your people mean the vendor,
Internal.
internal IT organization. So actually, this is the point which has been troubling cloud, people who try to sell cloud, enterprise class cloud like us. Cloud is some fancy thing in the sky which you should dabble in and probably be, a mean thing to say, should do on the resume, or is it an active consideration for, because many of the things about scaling back, the business did not grow at the rate it was envisaged, therefore it is essential to scale back the resources to cut costs. Cloud seems to be the ideal solution for that. But then why cloud is not a primary concern, primary consideration while deploying?
Especially in telecom, we cannot post everything to the cloud.
Not everything, but obviously there is a percentage of stuff which can be hosted.
Before the regulatory issues, I want to take up a point you mentioned. You seem to say that the concept of cloud is too abstracted out from the IT team to get their hands dirty. You're right. Now that's an interesting point. So you're saying the IT team wants to get its hands dirty.
See, when the new technologies are coming, your guys should be able to play with it and tell what exactly you require. Unless and until you have not played with it, you just say I need 4 core, this much RAM, this much space, this much storage. That's not sufficient enough.
So this is the point we've been trying to get our arms around. Is it something the IT department would like to play around in spare time, or is it a real active thing which is considered while deploying new infrastructure? Because that's very important for people like us who are making investment in cloud infrastructure within the geography. And our investment, which we have done, something which we will do in the future, will depend on the collective inputs we get from forums like this.
So let me take this question a bit wider. The statement, the interpretation I'm making of the statement is that this is too abstract for my IT team to get its grasp on or to get control of, which is why there's a hesitation within the IT team to deploy stuff on cloud. How many of you agree with this view? That it's too abstract for us to get a grip on it?
I personally don't agree with that because most of the cloud providers actually allow you to go and play on it. It's not very cheap. So you can consume. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Maybe you're not physically seeing it, you're not physically. Is that the point?
Many times, your engineers, your people who are handling infra, they lose control over what you are actually intending to buy at a later point. That the marketing or finance guy can also do. That seeing this type particular requirement, you need this type of storage or this type of thing. If you have 1 or 2 transactions, you might be able to tell you where exactly the value proposition of IT comes in.
Okay, so I'll come, that's a very important point I have got to discuss, but let me just finish this point. So how many of you see this as a problem? That the IT department is not getting its hands dirty on the cloud, so we are not sure whether we will deploy or not. It's too abstracted out, it's sitting somewhere.
So when they come to IT department, they feel some risk factor is there. So they can take calculated risk, but they cannot go for blindly.
Okay. That's holding the cloud deployment?
For cloud deployment, they will go with the application which are of not much importance. And then they compare the ROI and all, then they are satisfied. Then I think they can tell and
so
okay, you can go ahead.
So there's a question of quantifying the risk.
Yeah, so let me ask one more question related to this. It's a very important point for us to understand so that when we meet you and people like you in other organizations, we can tailor make our speeches, the so-called
The sales pitch, right?
Yeah. Now the question is, he was saying, look at the percentages that if an IT budget is growing by, let's say, average 15%. So 15% would mean deployment of some more of the existing application and some new applications, right? So when this is in front of X of existing applications and Y of new applications, is the infrastructure for that cloud or non-cloud? Is it actually considered to be cloud, or is this something which is outside this 15%, something you need to necessarily be in touch with, as against something which you are actually considering? This is an important question for us.
Let me throw back a question on you again. So what do you mean by cloud when you are talking cloud? Are you talking about virtualization, or you are talking cloud as service, what AWS is giving, or what?
Okay,
so
let me.
Orchestration and virtualizing and doing your own cloud infrastructure is one aspect. I think probably everybody will be doing it. But end of the day, the cost of hardware that AWS will incur to put an Intel-based server with 8 cores, maybe 4 sockets, 144 gigs of RAM, and huge storage Elmira attached to it, will end of the day be amortized onto the customer depending upon the number of cores that are being utilized. So if you're talking about something like AWS, that's a different ballgame altogether.
I can clarify actually, because in this context we are talking specific to some of the offers we have. Obviously that's why we are here. So I'm talking about the compute part of it, virtual machines. So it would be an equivalent of EC2 of AWS, specifically compute. So if you have to deploy 15% more IT, X% will be application, and there's an underlying IT infrastructure, the compute, storage, etc. In that is a public cloud or some sort of a private cloud, something you would consider actively.
So if you go for something like virtual machines, so what is different than what you are doing versus if somebody does it in-house? If I virtualize my VDI infrastructure using Citrix or VMware or anything, so my cost of using a Microsoft VDA license will remain the same if I use it myself or if I ask you to rent it out to me. The only really difference is that probably 1 year down the line I feel that okay fine, VDA is not working, I can just shut it down.
But you still would have bought those underlying infrastructure, right?
But that infrastructure can still be utilized.
This is not a sales situation. Yeah.
Coming back to what we are doing, we have about 800 VDIs running right now. But you cannot run it on cloud. You need to have it in-house, in-premise, due to certain regulatory compliances. So you cannot take it out of your.
That's fine. So that cannot be resisted.
So cloud or virtualization or orchestration or something is something that has to be seen whether you are doing it in-house, whether you are taking out on public. Websites, yes, customer facing, everything we take it off.
Yeah, that should be
using everything available.
See, non-core and web-based stuff people are often reporting. We are talking more approaching towards core. When will it go towards core? Not core exactly, but moving towards it. That's a question facing cloud vendors. So I'm not expecting any concrete answers. It's just ideas.
So I'm sensing 3-4 patterns here. One is that we are able to play with that aspect. The other aspect is what you're saying that okay, I can build it myself. Why should I come to you? Why should I come to the third-party provider? It's part of the answer that you said.
No, depends. If I'm doing it for my in-house applications, why should I go to a third-party service provider when I can do it myself? Yes, there might be a possibility that you can actually do not have manpower and you are not that big enough to attract the right resources. Then probably yes, you might look for a partner around. But if you are big enough, probably you will hire the right people and do it yourselves and have it under your own control and to get the best out of the virtualization and the cloud.
So the control becomes an issue.
Control, that's the approach.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this? You run some stuff on cloud.
What about security issues?
Is security a concern for you? Yeah.
I'm not so sure that the consideration is that if it's in-house applications, then why don't we do it ourselves by the internal team, and all the customer-facing things go on the cloud base, because sometimes for in-house applications as well, cloud is being considered, depending on what is the access that you get and how, we did talk about faster deployment as well. So in our case, we are looking at cloud, even if we have in-house applications. But some of the regulations, of course, play a deterrent for you to be able to go to cloud. Earlier in the evening, I was giving an example. We wanted to take something on the cloud, but I guess there is a regulation by the Indian government that you cannot put the maps and the topo sheets and the digital data on the servers which are located outside the country.
Amazing point.
So we couldn't do that.
That's a very good point, which is music to my ears, because our cloud is sitting inside India.
So maybe you can have a separate discussion.
So that's good.
Also, there is limitation on the proprietary hardware, like HP, DiskBase.
Okay.
Cloud is available on the Intel platform.
Yeah.
If you want, then also that is a limitation.
Yeah, that's there.
Unique clouds is not there.
Say something about storage last second.
Not storage, I'm very interesting. Two limitation parts are, I think it's more of an opportunity to move on to the Intel side, more open side, and you get a choice, number of options there. On doing it in-house and size of the organizations and how, why should you go outside and do it with cloud service providers. We've seen banking and finance organizations, we've seen telecom organizations embracing cloud and not recklessly having a cloud policy or a strategy saying this is what I'll do within the organization with classic IT, and for all my new initiatives where I'm spending probably 25-30% of my IT budgets and nothing more than that, I would want to do more with that 25%, and therefore cloud fits in better. And when I say not recklessly, there is a security guideline around that. There is selection of partners and enough criteria to be looked at while you choose your cloud partners, and then very, very carefully spend that that budget for innovation with cloud service providers. For example, if you are left with about 30 rupees out of 100 in your IT budget, you probably buy 30 servers. You spend the same 30 on cloud service providers or with cloud service providers, you may be able to deploy maybe 50 servers or 40 servers, or you may be able to consume more applications rather than focusing on running IT. It's more towards consumption. I would first save a lot of time and then be able to deploy a lot more new applications. If I choose to spend with service providers. So that's the context to where we as technology providers, I think, are trying to play a big role, saying we will enable service providers to be able to build very, very elastic, very large, to your point, the AWS kind of infrastructure, large and elastic infrastructure, so that economies of scale can be passed on to our customers. It has to make economic benefit. That's why the large organizations took on to the cloud bandwagon, because their spends are in millions and billions of dollars in some cases, and if they save millions and billions, all of it can get added to the bottom line, and that's affecting their stocks and everything. So that's where we as technology providers, we have our own contribution, and we strive to improve more and make it more service oriented, our hardware, our software, to tie into these larger infrastructure.
I would like to say that financially speaking, it does not, CapEx does not even want to make the entire amount. It's only the depreciation of also depreciation also does not take. So basically, I don't think the profit gets affected even if you spend money on this. If you don't have the cash, more at the high rate. So financially, I don't think it's so much about this.
It's the cost avoidance rather, or procurement of that capex under IT budget. If I don't have it today, I can probably defer it, but consuming the service with a lesser amount, and maybe budget for it more predictably in the next budget set. So that's where you could, kind of tide over the budget issue and try and move on with whatever is available.
So companies looking for short-term gains is not a good solution.
Case to case basis,
For
right?
long-term gains, otherwise, that's
Yes, sir. You have a comment, sir. Can you put it on? Cloud is a great solution to be, and it's going to stay. But the problem why it has not picked up the way it should have, especially in a country like India, there are a lot of factors going for that. If you go for standard application on the cloud, the cost which you have to bear, if you see capex versus opex model, the upfront capex is getting neutralized under 3 years. Whereas if you want to sustain it, it must capitalized for a period of 5 years at least. Because all pricing, if you see standard applications, is in USD. And with USD going up, the problem is only going to go higher and higher. That's one. Second is, in case of Indian service providers for the cloud, there are no known straightforward security guarantees. There are laws, there are SLAs, but the problem is that the trust which you have got in the system, that if there is a violation of that security, what is the escalation and what is the penalty on the guy is not clearly defined. Because cloud service providers are not taking any tangible hit on themselves, apart from the fact that they will tell you, okay, I will do this thing extra for you. Third, there are no open standards in cloud. If today I run an ERP, let us say an SAP out of one cloud, SAP cloud, buy a CRM from Oracle on the other cloud, who will interface both of them? There are no open standards. So cloud has come to be today recognized only in silos. Organizations have to come out with adaptive clouds where these servers are broken. Where as a service provider, you give me a solution on the cloud, which is not restricted to any one single particular area of the business, across businesses. That is where cloud will start going up and up. That's what my thought was.
Yeah, good points. In fact, some of these points which you raised, which are very relevant, I'll be showing two or three slides at the end of this session, probably 3 slides, that contains answers to many of these, about the security part, the SLA part, then the accountability, some of these things, and the issues you're facing with Indian cloud providers. So I'll address that. I will also show, out of the 3 slides, one slide will be on a case study. Why this point, your policy I'm raising again and again, because overseas we are seeing that entire businesses running on cloud. They need not essentially be e-commerce businesses, there are other businesses also. There are many businesses running fully on our cloud. We have a few thousand clients in North America and Europe, etc. In India, we have deployed it a few months back and we have got some traction, but a serious move towards cloud we are yet to see. But the talk is very high, the actual action on the ground on migration, not so much. And the reasons you mentioned are very relevant. These are the points which come up in every conversation.
I want to mention is how do you assess the cloud? The quality of internet speeds which you get, primarily in certain areas, are good, but possibly it is not good in all the areas. So that is also one of the reasons. These problems you don't face, let us say, in a country like US, where laws are defined, where infrastructure is not a problem. But the same are the big issues for adoption in India. Though as a cloud adopter, we have done a lot of adoption on the cloud. Most of my applications are on the cloud. But I'm telling you the real problems there.
I'm surprised about that. Connectivity, I'm under the impression, I've been in telecom business for like 12 to 15 years now. Connectivity generally has improved.
See, when you talk about the cloud, the main advantage you give to the end user is that you can access that application from anywhere.
Yeah.
The moment you go out of the peripheries of, let us say, any established metro, let us say 20 kilometers ahead, you will see the drop in signals. So then the problem actually starts. The expectation of the user and the service level which we are providing actually gets mismatched.
But in a non-cloud scenario, how do you solve that?
It's already it's not there.
No, otherwise application, construction, do take care of it. Probably it's not online immediately. Maybe at the end of the day. All the organizations are very good.
Okay. I like to add a point here. You mentioned very rightly actually. We were using the core system, the Transform. later we realized the slowness actually. The kind of day-to-day BAU they were doing it, there was a drop actually. So
When you move to cloud.
correct.
Okay. So that's it. What is it? He's saying that when they moved from internal system to cloud,
Cloud.
there was a drop in
In this,
performance.
correct.
Was it due
So-
to connectivity or the?
No, we were trying to figure out because we were getting the best connectivity, best signals, everything was there. But I don't know. Still, it was causing slowness.
Now, this is probably a case which needs to be studied because moving to cloud, slowing it down is something new to be.
Take for
No.
example the email solution.
Sorry?
Take for example the email solution. One second. I think I have figured out why this is switching off. You need to press it hard and keep it for a second, it will stay on. Okay. So take for example the email solution. If you have got, let us say, 5,000 users who are based out of your factory at one place, you have a on the site deployed solution. They are assessing that email solution online.
Yeah.
If that 5,000 go on the internet, then you are restricted by the internet speed.
Absolutely, because email solution hosted on the LAN will be fastest for access as compared to something which is coming from somewhere and will depend on the pipe size of it. It's no doubt about it.
But in spite of all this, cloud is going to be there as a major method.
In fact, I like to compliment couple of things like security. I think cloud has best security. I feel personally. Other thing is
That's the amazing thing.
yeah, because I done some research, so I found they have the best system in place. The other thing is downtime, which is our general BAU. We face all those things. So there is a less downtime, and ready to use anytime we can ramp up and ramp down any application. There is no other thought like we have to wait for server, we have to order it. We can go online and we can deliver something. And the backup is another problem. Hot backup, cold backup, what time you need, and the bandwidth. The biggest thing is the bandwidth. Whenever, let's say, we are planning to do something, we have to plan the bandwidth. Let's say the video conferencing, some of the videos, corporate videos, we are putting it so that they are choking the bandwidth sometimes. And the storage. These are the positive side. There are some negative side also which I have noticed. The first thing is compliance. In our case, the compliance is a big issue because we are the insurance company. So a lot of regulatory rules are there. So we have to always consult. Now IRDA is himself coming with the cloud system where they are asking to possibility connect with our core systems, which is our bread and butter for the business. Yeah. So
IRDA incidentally is our client.
So I've been they're in a discussion last month in Hyderabad, and they were working on this solution. Other thing is the risk. The biggest risk which I see is the dependency. If I move on the cloud, so there is a dependency.
Dependency in terms of because
With the provider, correct.
That
is a risk. That is
I can respond to that point right now. It is about outsourcing any activity. Once you outsource, your dependence on that provider is there, not just for cloud. Any activity you outsource. So the expectations that you would do assessments before outsourcing any activity, not just cloud part of it.
But that thing we can control. What I feel is, but moving on a cloud, probably I may lose some of the controls.
So it's coming back to control. I'm doing control in too many places.
Also, when you deployed your applications today, is there a way where you are able to measure it in terms of what is the different LOBs? Is there any tools that you're using to show back, or is there a metering mechanism in-house right now, or is that on your wish list that this should also be part of in terms of my next spend, so that you're able to take a decision much better who needs to contribute more? Like someone said, the profit center, how do I transform the profits? So is there a measurement criteria on your existing apps, or is Is there something which you look at cloud to offer?
I was using different tool, but it's a very in this company we don't have any tools.
So I have a point. So if you classify in a matrix, solutions which are expensive, I can go on a cloud. Solutions which are not that expensive, which cannot be deployed on cloud, classify it and demarket it. If you provide a solution which is expensive on the cloud and which is not expensive, an ordinary usual environment of whatever the company will ask it, I think there is a way. Instead of putting all the applications on cloud and making yourself very expensive, put only the expensive applications and of course computing time and all you have to sacrifice that, it will be slower. So that's my suggestion.
So the question being asked is there a need for apportioning IT costs across departments, and do you have tools to do that? Yeah.
I think it will be really useful to have that, and cloud of course offers metering because now when it is done in my organization, it's done based on some estimation. It's really not real. The metering, we don't have any tools, but definitely.
Not many people do.
Sorry?
Not many people do. I mean, that's the need of the hour though.
Yes,
Not many people.
exactly. You don't build those tools in-house, to be able to do it.
So cloud obviously is a good cloud orchestration, something which has an orchestration automation layer can do that. In fact, that's one of the selling points we use in our cloud, metering and chargeback, which you do to your department, that can be very easily done.
Do you have the need for
Apportioning costs.
it has to happen. You see, in those organizations where there is a centralized IT setup and multiple divisions are going to use that, this has to happen. Otherwise, IT will take all the cost and be the biggest cost center in the company. So this has to happen, and cloud is one of the strategies. Other strategies, if you have got applications, then the entire cost to run the application, then divided by the number of users which are coming from the division, get a portion of the division, which we do today. Okay. Number of seat spaces.
Absolutely. Okay. That's a traditional method, divide the head count. But these days, a lot of people go with actual compute usage, etc.
See, the point is, this can't be the basis for a cloud strategy. I mean, just to...
This is one of the factors.
So basically, this cloud strategy has to come in when my cloud entry, and more importantly, my cloud exit process is clearly defined. I know the entry, I don't know the exit.
That's an amazing point. Exit,
exit point needs to be
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Migration from one service provider to a different service provider again comes as a challenge. So
Absolutely. That is one of the exit and migration from one cloud provider to another. That's an important point in cloud discussions. And though this is not meant to be a selling situation, that's one of the things we facilitate very well, the exit part of it.
native and other challenges is that most of the native apps are not cloud ready.
Cloud ready, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir.
To ask is there any reports available for the cloud service providers performance? Because I agree with Kapil, backup is the advantages of cloud.
I'll show you a report. In fact, there are multiple.
But the experience personal experience that I had is one of the top cloud service provider in India. So we hosted our ERP, not the current organization. So, but for some reason, we wanted to stop that cloud service. So we gave them the notice, and then we went back to them. I think it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, to take the backup, to get all the data. They said everything is deleted. I don't know name the service provider, one of the top in India. So, since you are saying there is a report available, does the report cover all these parameters and say this is?
No, this is
the quality of the service provider is what.
See, there are various reports. I'll show you 2 of them so my number of slides will go up. Okay, so one is the Gartner's Magic Quadrant, which they do an independent study based on a couple of parameters. Second is performance reports by Tolly Group. You have heard about this group? They do independent performance study and We had commissioned them and they had done performance analysis across cloud providers. So obviously they did not analyze any Indian providers. We commissioned them to do the study across players who are figuring in Gartner's Magic Quadrant, and none of the Indian players figure in that. Well, that's the range of players we are talking about here, not
Questions for Indian service providers.
Sorry, I don't have a report on Indian service providers. So we focus on players in Gartner's MQ for infrastructure as a service. So we need to focus on some section in the service providers, right? I can try that.
Maybe I will take around
I can also put a map there. It's a 2 second play.
I've sent it that in the slides.
Just to add to that, what Cisco does is the level of standards that we've laid across that the customers enjoy in their enterprise space, those are the same level of standards that we extend from a service provider or a partner. So we have independent auditors. If Dimension Data gets a Cisco powered logo as a solution provider on the cloud, there are stringent checklists and audits before they even get to that level. So from that, assurance, performance and all that is one step further before even they go live is something that we ensure that happens.
But do you really maintain what happens after they go live? After you have already given them a logo, do they really adhere to that?
Yes, so there is a periodic
probably we'll discuss
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so if the entire
So this, in fact, now that we are talking, let me show you that. Can you guys see this is the Gartner's Magic Quadrant for infrastructure as a service. All of you are aware of Gartner's MQ, right? I'm sure most of the organizations you are required to assess vendors from Gartner's MQ.
Sorry, yes. You are required to take proposals from top players in Gartner's MQ. So this is the leadership. Where is the person? Okay. This is the MQ for infrastructure as a service, and that's where our product is. The Dimension Data Cloud powered by Cisco and EMC. So you can see, I don't know, this cursor, and I have a love-hate relationship. So here it is. Okay. So this one is Amazon Web Services. Okay. Then Terramark, Savis, Computer Science Corporation, and this Dimension Data. So this is the leaders quadrant. Rest of the names are here. There's a Rackspace here, and
Fujitsu, OVH, some other names.
so there are 15 names in this Magic Quadrant. Out of that, the Rackspace, Amazon Web Services, etc. you are familiar with. Dimension Data Cloud. Earlier this was called
What's the company we acquired?
OpSource. This was called OpSource in the US, and they were the Challengers Quadrant. Now after Dimension Data got it, it has come to Leaders Quadrant. So the good thing about this, inside India, somebody mentioned about the sovereignty of data. The data needs to be inside India geography. So Dimension Data's cloud platform is located in India. Okay, that's one important point. The rest of them, if you go for Amazon Web Services, for example EC2, your nearest cloud platform is in Singapore. If you go for Rackspace, it's in Hong Kong. And another point to be noted, none of the Indian players, some of you are facing difficulties with Indian players, so that's the reason why they are not in the map. So it's a question of assessing, going for the right cloud provider. So the next question you asked is about performance. This will be happy to share this copy of this report with you. So Tolly Group is a group which studies performance of IT performance. So we commissioned them to study the performance of Amazon Cloud, Rackspace, ours, and Azure. So we got some very encouraging results. Basically, it showed that Dimension Data's cloud is faster processing, faster memory throughput, faster file access speed, and greater network throughput. So that's where you are. 1 second. And somebody talked about this one. We need to the compliance and security. So the cloud platform is SSA 16 audited all the time. It is HIPAA compliant, European Safe Harbor, PCI compliant. So there is a minimum level of security and compliance built into the platform, and beyond that, we could align with your individual requirements for security and compliance.
I come to the last question I have. Somebody here mentioned that I did a negotiation with my CFO. Couple said that, right? How many of you have to negotiate regularly with the CFO? All of them, right? And how good is that experience? I noticed the
wrong question.
So let me do one. I want to play a short video. I want you to watch this video, and then we'll take that discussion on the CFO. So we went and asked a CFO, what is the problem? We tried to get their viewpoint on this. Please listen to this carefully. This company is a 1,000 crore plus company here, and this gentleman is based out of Bangalore, I think.
Normally this is how we hear
What is very critical for you people is actually to look at Intel from the perspective of a CTO. I am an Intel customer for a technology guy. What is very critical for you people is actually to look at Intel customers. What they are. Now, from the perspective of a CTO, I am an Intel customer for a technology guy. What is very critical for you people is actually to look at Intel customers, what they are looking at. Now, if you talk about cloud and all that, I only heard about cloud and all that, but I will not understand. So you might have to translate those languages into the way we actually look at, because I have to use. That is, please translate whatever you talk to me into a business sense. Then it makes sense for me. One of the biggest challenge what all the CFOs are facing is the controls, the internal controls, which is extremely critical, and compliances.
Does it make any sense? This is what you keep hearing?
It makes sense?
I think these points are very important from this perspective. Sometimes we do not evaluate the skill only as a hurdle, who is not direct over it, or asking something which is difficult to decide. But he has to answerable for certain audits, or his data is, most of the data is the CFO data. And he is very much concerned about it, how secure and secure.
Any other thoughts on what he said? You're smiling.
Yeah, he is very right actually. So negotiating with him is not easy actually. And whenever you go with the best plan, best of the best plan, he will say what is the ROI.
But you actually go without an ROI thing.
No, even I try to convince, I am ready with the next slide, there I have ROI. But still I fail to make him understand. So many times it's happened.
There is one more aspect.
Yeah.
किसी और ने लगाया है. And then you please meet them. What was their failure? What are the chances the same risk will be ours? So the question doesn't end there. And then if you say okay in that industry, let's say in our industry, within our auto components, is there any year where you see it deployed? Because there is a risk factor with the fee. So you have to give them answers. If we are very confident, then we would have actually found the answers. And then we would be giving convincing answers. Like in most, like 5 years back, most of us would have deployed a SIP 5 years back, 7 years back, or 3 years back. So we would have gone to so-called peers and seen whether it is successful or not.
In fact, on the other side of the coin, I have one IT CA friend of mine who says, if you go with the cloud proposal, he will slow it down. But if you go with the in-house deployment thing, he will say, why don't you go for cloud? It could save some cost.
It's probably the KPIs and KRAs of a CIO and a CFO are intercrossing each other. So he has to reduce the cost and we have to spend more. Also, and CEOs are intelligent enough to create that competition so they get best out of it.
Also, if you're speaking in his language, I mean, ROI may not be the best measurement tool for every project. So it's IRR, ROCE, and if you're really using those jargon, then you translate your project, or the TCO. I mean, these are the things which probably will be a better win for you in terms of the negotiations.
And another one more observation is there, like he see always the confidence, how much you are confident to deliver this. Sometimes that is also the selling point actually. If you think like this is just a project where you are trying, fulfill one of the requirements, so there you land in the, discussion. And if you're so confident, like you are showing a lot of current to him, okay, this is that, like we'll deliver it, I'm taking ownership, so he happy. Probably he support you. So this is what a lot of time I've seen it.
So this is the same thing which we saw 5 years back. I was with VMware for 6 years, in 2006, late 6. I mean, we were trying to justify on whether we should go for virtualization or not, because no one had tried it, my peers were slow in doing it. And really, I mean, so that's where they tested waters, which are my low-hanging fruits, which are on low risk, test that, get the confidence. Same as the case at this stage, what I feel is from the cloud. Test your apps which are on the low-hanging fruit, which your neck is not going to be on the block. And then from once you have the confidence, you are able to then spread and be the champion for the cause.
Any other thoughts? In one area, I find that it would be quite useful if you consider the process industry. Say for example, I am from steel. There are a lot of critical areas where decision making itself is so difficult because of a lot of parameters which you cannot assimilate with the system you have today. And if the cloud capacity can enhance that decision making or expedite that decision making, and which results in better utilization of your capacities as well as quality. Now, say for example, our cold rolling mill, we find that with little bit of oil, our realization goes down by $2,000 a ton, and it adds. Customer is dissatisfied, and but how to control it? The fellow who is monitoring the mill, he is using his.
True. So today, if you ask, I mean, that's a very valid point, and we are already talking about Internet of Things. I mean, if you talk to Gartner or any analyst, there are more sensors being put in any device and being enabled, which are throwing up a lot of data to the organization in terms of.
Data are there, but how to assimilate?
Exactly. So this is a use case of a retail chain who wanted to give the best customer experience. They have put in the RFIDs where the customer can online get onto Google Maps, track their delivery, a lot of data, and if they were to go it by their own in terms of the investment, would have been huge cost. Right? So they went with the cloud model in terms of the whole big data.
Because frankly speaking, investment is not the criteria. So you could go in for any quantum of investment, provided you could justify or you could explain to us that it is useful.
So there are areas or solution areas which Hadoop, big data and Internet of Things solve. So that will be a separate discussion. But again, that underlying is the cloud, which kind of enables you further to have the same level of analytics delivered to you at a lesser cost.
Similarly, in our logistics, basically, we have similar difficulties.
So maybe we need to have a decision.
Yeah, that's right.
You had promised a case study, right?
Yeah, I'll take probably 2-3 minutes to only download it. Most of the stuff I already showed. So some of the points which came up, security complaints, I just showed you a slide. Security, you could just look at the kind of default security measures we have put in Dimension Data Cloud. So here, the topic, what we are selling is compute as a service, which is in the IaaS family. So Dimension Data's managed cloud platform is set up in a data center, our own data center in Ahmedabad. And that's the same platform which is present in 9 other countries. It started in North America a few years back. And then we put in Europe, in Australia, in Hong Kong, Indonesia, then South Africa. Now it is commissioned in India. Its underlying infrastructure is provided by Cisco and EMC. That's why we are sitting together in the forum. And there's a wonderful control orchestration of the automation layer called cloud control, which is our IP. That's the one which is creating this wonderful cloud experience. You can see the security attributes, the network centricity, the account-based security, the security management, which is the audit trail, secure user access, and again the physical infrastructure which is there. These are the compliances. Again, some of you would have heard about ISA 17 type 2, now it's called ISA 16. We undergo that audit every year. We are HIPAA compliant, we are compliant safe harbor guidelines, we are also PCI compliant. So if one of your organizations want to some other type of compliance, we'll be happy to work with you. Okay, so I'm talking about a certain enterprise class cloud compute, which is not offered by any Indian service provider. So that my friend who asked a question about Indian service provider, they are, it will take them several years to reach this level. So I will end with showing, these are the cloud platforms which we have in various countries. One good news is if you sign up for Dimension Data's cloud service in India, you get access to all these platforms, you gain visibility, you could buy compute in any of these platforms and use it. So people who are multi-geography IT users, this is a wonderful platform to have. So this is the range right from public cloud to fully private, which is hosted inside your data center. You can put the same technology inside your data center. What we are putting for in our data center, we can plug it out and put in your data center. So that is fully private, this end is fully public, and any flavor in between. I showed you the Gartner quadrant, etc. This is one case study I want to show you. This is an Indian example. One of the states, not so advanced state on the eastern side of the country, the state IT department is pretty progressive. They wanted core banking to be rolled out in a state cooperative where 126 branches. This was already running on another service provider who, let's say, faced some difficulties of late. I'm sure you know the name of this data center provider. So they were trying, they were struggling to locate an alternate service provider who could, to whose platform they could migrate this very quickly. So they contacted us and we could provide this solution to them. So the challenges were migrating the core banking application architecture from managed hosting to cloud, then planning for backup and recovery infrastructure as per the client's PR requirements. So there's a primary on cloud and a PR on dedicated setup. Then providing MPLS connectivity into the cloud. Many of the cloud providers provide you with the internet access only. Some of the people are talking about our cloud platform, you can connect with MPLS, which is a very unique thing, specifically designed for enterprise clients only. Okay, so this is not the one for small organizations or individual users. So we provided this guidance by, we ran a POC. The client was doubtful whether this would work on cloud, so we ran a POC for a few weeks, couple of weeks, and they were convinced. And then we designed the full solution and on a pay-as-you-go model. This is about unit of compute, memory, and storage, and we charge per hour. You can scale up, scale down. In scaling down is a very important point. Oh, I think plus that can happen. So this there are dozens of examples from outside India, but I'm saying a core banking for a cooperative bank, 126 branches. I suppose it's a brave enough and big enough example from India. So I hope you'll get motivated by this, and we address some of your security and compliance your concerns. And I hope we could have some dialogue going forward, and we could result in some beautiful relationships. Okay? Thank you very much.
Time to conclude, right? Because dinner is ready outside. I promised something when I invited you. that something is in my hand. Okay? I got, like I promised, I told them, how do we do this? We got all the machine cards here. Who wants to draw?
We should probably call a CFO to draw this.
I think I have the card. If you give me a card option, I have it.
I think there's maybe one lady.
So I have all the right? So the first draw is going to be for the bigger box.
So you can announce what are these, what are you carrying in your hand? Does it contain something inside or it's a...
It's a box.
It's an empty box.
It's not a cloud. It can connect a cloud. It can.
It's a device to connect on virtual.
Precisely. It can connect to cloud.
So if somebody wants free cloud trials, if it says about migrating to cloud and how to take that first step, we'll be very happy to help you and provide you free trial period, etc.
Right.
Oh, free devices. No, that only he gives.
So this is the first draw is for this box, the bigger box. This is the thinner box. If you draw,
we need to switch on the lights.
She's saying she doesn't want to draw, just give me the box. You can't look into the box. Yeah.
I actually looked at my visiting card too.
Okay, I have the winner's name. You can read it right in the back. Guess. Guess.
I can say it's not mine.
No, it's not mine, that's not. I can guess that.
So all who says not can guess this, right? 3 names. The person's name has got 3 parts. First name, middle name, last name. Anybody wants to guess? That's 3 different people. You don't want to guess, right?
Guess gets a
Nice try, yes. Nice try. Sri Om Prakash Yadav. JB.
Yeah.
Technical director.
I'm always the guy who gives away the gifts.
NIC. Is there a message for me?
Yeah, sure. All right. Congratulations. Let's have a round of applause.
Now this card is being removed so that I can remove your card, right? Okay. The thinner box, which is this. Usual rules you can't see. If you put your own name, I'll decide whether you can.
It's an iPad mini. What is that? We didn't announce what is it.
No tablet.
Can you make out what card it is? Whose card it is? Healthcare. Multiple people in healthcare, right?
ये तो max कर दिया.
He is also healthcare. Healthcare. Sure.
Pradeep Saab.
The guys in healthcare are willing to bribe me. Who is willing to bribe me? I'll announce that name. Pradeep Saab.
Congratulations. I got mini for it.
Okay, thank you ladies and gentlemen for your participation. couple of you I'll get into a slightly longer discussion on the case studies, examples you mentioned. The feedback form that has been given to you, it would be great if you get that feedback form. Help us make this more interactive and more useful. Dinner is
Rules for drinks and dinner, cocktails and dinner. Good.
Finally.